Good afternoon once again. It's Joe Volpe, the editor of the Corriere Canadese and also the president of Corriere Canadese TV. We're here again with Go Live TV and golivetv.ca. We're here today with one of the premier figures in the issues that related to the Italian Canadian community in education and in iconic cultural development. None other than Mr. Sal Piccininni, trustee, Toronto Catholic District School Board. Welcome, Mr. Piccininni.
Mr. Volpe, it's a pleasure to be here.
We're delighted to have you. Now, I said a moment ago that you were a central figure in the issues of the community over the course of this last year. Just to briefly remind all of our viewers, so the Columbus Center in Villa Colombo, iconic institution in the Italian community, not just for Toronto, but for Southern Ontario, was in danger of being demolished. Thanks to your initiatives and with the cooperation of others, let's give credit where credit is due, we were able to get an appropriate hearing, which hearing then resulted in the school board withdrawing from the project.
That's correct.
Okay, do you want to tell us something about that for a brief moment?
Well, I was, if you looked at my history since I've been in, since 1998, I've always tried to help the little guy. And when I saw our grandparents devastated by this and knowing what they've done, and not just for the Italian community, but for the community at large and for the school board at large, it broke my heart. And I saw, at least in my opinion, I felt a bullying going on, and I didn't think that we had the right dance partner. So that's what brought me up to my motion at the time, and I think I surprised people by it because everyone seemed to think that I was pro Dante, pro getting rid of this,
But it was a condominium project more than anything else.
The merger of the joining of the two. Everyone thought that I was pro for it, and I basically sat back and I listened. Well, I think you were at a meeting where I asked some questions to the Villa board, and then I listened to the community at large, and it didn't matter where I was in my ward, and my ward is vast. It's
we will talk about that in a minute, but it wasn't just a local issue to Lawrence and Dufferin.
No, it wasn't. It was a city issue, and it didn't matter where you were. In fact, I would argue that it was outside the city because I have friends in Markham, I have friends in Woodbridge, and they would talk about it. I have a very good friend in Brent County, out by Hamilton, and they were talking about it in the Italian community out there. So, this was not a Dufferin and Lawrence issue.
So it wasn't just an education issue, but for those who don't recall, there was the potential to use part of the grounds to rebuild a school and convert it as well part-time to a community center.
Well, I'd say full-time on one side and then joining with the school on the other side. But I don't think it was, I think if they would have presented and been straightforward instead of in a bullying manner, I think that this probably would have went through. But they seem to want to ram it through and not consult properly. And I think that scared a lot of people off.
But this is what a trustee is supposed to do anyway, is to make sure that you consult with people.
Well, we have to ask questions, of course, and you do want to consult.
But that's your role. Isn't that what a trustee normally does? Like people say, what's a trustee do in education? What do they do?
Well, we deal with the policies of the board, the procedures of the board, and the money that comes in, but we...
How much money comes in?
Well, it's roughly $1 billion for the Toronto Catholic Board. I think it's 1.1. I don't have the exact figure on me. And we're basically, the Toronto Public Board is 3 times the size as we are. So you kind of relate it that way. But, we hire the director and we make sure that he administrates to the senior team and to all levels what the vision is of the board and what his vision is in consultation with ours.
But $1 billion a year is a significant amount of money.
Yes, it is.
And you're responsible for what, about 96,000 students?
Roughly, yes.
But in your area, how many?
I have roughly I'm about 8,000 students in my area. My area alone is bigger than I think half the school boards, the Catholic school boards in Ontario.
That's about 6,000 families.
Yes.
So 6,000 families would expect a trustee to have careful supervision of the programs that the school board develops and delivers, to supervise the director and senior staff.
That's correct.
And to make sure that the government of Ontario continues to flow money towards Catholic education.
Well, it is a flow back and forth, and it's also a working relationship. You know, with your local MPPs, I used to have a very good relationship with a former MPP, and we worked on our area a lot. I'm forging new relationships with, because I have 2 new MPPs after the election, and also with the government in hand and the minister in hand.
Who changed, obviously, from
Major
election to
change.
election. Well, in this one here, you know, it's a clean sweep almost.
Yeah, it was major change.
Yeah, but you're going to have to, as you say, you're going to have to develop new relationships.
Well, I have a lot of work ahead of me.
Well, if you listen, you'll be okay, and you've been listening.
I think I have, so I'm confident that I'm listening.
Well, kudos to you. Now, you were listening on another one of those topics, as I mentioned, there's another interest. For us who are from a third group of Canadians, not any of the founding nations, recent or not so recent immigrants, international language studies or international language program. Now, that's an important program. Very briefly, from our perception, it's one where kids get taught in the language of their parents or their grandparents. Am I right? Basically?
Yes, basically you're right. There's also like there's some schools that will teach Italian, and maybe some Portuguese people in there that are learning, or the other way around. Or there's the Ukrainian schools. There's a significant number of Polish people that take it. So and I know the Filipino base on our board, Gary Tenawan, is trying to bring it over to those schools too. So it is very important. I think it's.
But it's an optional program.
It's optional. It's an optional program, but it's more, people really fight for this program, and they really, really care about it. And I.
But who teaches it?
They're instructors. They're not teachers. They're instructors that work for CUPE, and that's.
But it's not CUPE that certifies them. I mean, they have qualifications to teach, whether it's in Italian, Portuguese,
yes.
or.
They're certified instructors.
From where?
Well, they're certified from their colleges, but they're not certified by the Ontario College of Teachers, and that was part of the discrepancy that we had.
So what happens is that there's a 300-minute day where teachers who are coming from the College of Teachers are responsible to deliver a program.
The curriculum, yes.
Right? And then there's the extended day.
In 44 schools.
In 44?
Yes.
How many of them in your place? In your ride? In your
ward? In my ward, sorry.
Old habits die hard.
It's okay. In my ward, it's 12 schools. I have the highest number of international languages. I have a very ethnic ward, so it's important for a lot of the school communities. And I had a lot of the communities reached out and said, "Save this program."
So 44 schools, 44 out of what is it?
168.
168. That's about 25% of the schools. So out of 25% of the schools in the TCDSB, the Catholic School Board, 44 of them offer this program.
Extended day.
Extended day. Now, this is going to be a subject for another discussion at greater length, but that was going to be canceled at the last minute.
Because of a grievance by the Toronto Elementary Teachers Union. And I don't have the proper name for it. They're called TAC.
Yeah. Toronto.
So they did a grievance, and we're still trying to figure out how it got to that, because senior staff tended to negotiate this and then brought it in the last minute to get rid of the extended day. And the trustees, and I believe this was the time I was off injured, the trustees voted to take it. So we kind of cemented our own foot in our mouth with that. And we should have told them no and sent it back, but they were worried about the teachers union going on strike at the time. So what happened is we have one union that basically went after another union, and that could have caused 20,000 kids to lose a program that they love, 100 CUPE employees dismissed, and total chaos, which still could happen when it comes to busing at the start of the 2018-2019 school year.
One wonders why anybody would have gotten into that mess in the first place.
I'm going to say something that isn't popular, but I think it's a cash grab.
Okay.
Okay.
That's the view of the Corriere Canadese, by the way. Okay. But, you know, we can have this discussion at greater length the next time. Maybe we'll go into the details if you'd like.
I would love that.
But the one thing that's come forward is that what you just said, 100 jobs were saved. So there's 100 people who are going to be out of a job forever.
Yes.
As a result of an initial silly decision.
Well, I don't know how an arbitrator just looks at one thing and makes it black and white and didn't look at all the encompassing issues. But they did, and we were in between a rock and a hard place until we started to advocate. And I've got to give the parent communities credit. I've got it. The trustees, we have a rocky relationship, all the trustees. I'm going to be honest, we don't all like each other, but we all came together on this
I noticed that there was a unanimous decision.
Yes, it was a unanimous decision.
So we're just about out of time, Mr. Piccininni. I want to thank you very much. This is a good point, jumping off point, and if you'll come back, we'll elaborate on that.
I would love it.
Well, we want to do it because in September, we want to continue to discuss not only International Languages Program, but also the presence in our schools of children of those who are undocumented residents in Canada, the economic implications and the familial implications associated with that. Are you prepared to do it?
I'm prepared to do it. We have a lot of work to do. My mandate's running out, and I'm hoping you get a new one, but I'm continuing to do the work.
We hope that you do get a new one. You deserve it on the basis of what we've seen so far, and we appreciate the fact that you're coming here. Keep in mind, everybody that's watching right now, that this program is on live, but it's also repeated on video on Corriere.ca and on our GoLiveTV.ca. You can catch us on YouTube, you can catch us on Facebook, and of course on Corriere Canadese, the only Italian language daily newspaper in all of North America. Mr. Piccininni, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure for having me.
Okay.